Hello, beautiful human being, and welcome back to the Ryan Magic Show. I'm going to be discussing my perspective on artificial intelligence in this episode. There are so many different ideas behind it and fears around it, like it's some apocalyptic movie where the robots are going to take over the world. And I'm going to give a different perspective on artificial intelligence and what I perceive to be the biggest threat that it has to humanity and to your life in this day and age. And so before we get into the episode, come to the Art of Fulfillment workshop. Don't come to the Art of Fulfillment workshop before listening to the episode. Listen to this now. But I can't be in my own integrity without strongly suggesting the full transmission by having the embodied experience of what it means to be fulfilled in this life. We can learn about the information. We can, do our best to take in and understand healing and trauma and spirituality and going after our purpose and how to take action and all these things. But being in a room where you're getting that transmission by being put through your paces to live it is the offer that I have here. And my whole life's work has gone into this signature workshop, and it's something that I'd love for you to come along to. If you're really looking to get the most out of this work, which I assume you are. So even if you're in another country, find out the next dates for the Art of Fulfillment and come along. I promise you it'll be the most life-changing event that you've ever gone to, and it will integrate and connect the dots of how all this growth opportunity ties together. How does the spiritual, the emotional healing work? And practically making money and being of service and having a purpose. How does it all link together? How can you be deeply spiritually connected and be on your purpose and living it fully in the world? How can you be taking big action in life, but emotionally processing on a day-to-day basis? It can be a challenging balance. And that was my experience. And with a key set of principles and diagrams and little ways to lock in the understanding of how they work together, it's really changed the way I've approached my life and allowed me to live my most fulfilling life. And that's what I want to put forward as an offer to you. So if you are interested in that, come along to the next one. You find out the dates at ryanmagic.com. You can just look up the workshop through there, or you can email me if you have questions, ryan@ryanmagic.com. Anyway, let's get into the episode. So, like I said, when people think of artificial intelligence, there's a big fear around where's this going to lead us as a human race? What's going to be the ultimate worst case scenario of this? And that ends up being the robots take over and destroy the human race. And if you look at the way that us as the most sophisticated intelligent life form on the planet, the way that we treat other animals, we're kind of makes sense to have that fear. Other fears that exist that are also it makes sense to have this fear too, which is that it's going to take over our jobs. If so much can just be automatically done by intelligence that can figure out functionality, then what's the purpose of your functionality? That's a really important question to ask, and it's an important threat to consider as well. So these are the common talking points of artificial intelligence. I'm going to point to something that I see to be a much bigger issue, and that is the impact on AI and our level of fulfillment and the impact of AI on our mental health. Now, to me, if we look at AI, what I hear with that, what I think of as how to categorize it, it's another way of creating increased convenience. If we look at the leveraged technology that we've had as a human race in the last couple of 100 years, there has never been a time where there's been as much exponential growth on innovation that increases convenience in the world than ever before. We've got cars that can take us places quicker. We've got electricity that can allow us to see things at night and do things differently. It's extra convenience. We've got mobile phones that allow us to conveniently communicate with each other. We've got the internet. We've got devices where we can type into instead of having to speak it out or write it out. If we didn't have, like, think about the typewriter, and then now we have computers, and now we can transcribe things so we can just speak into the technology and it'll lay it all out. Artificial intelligence is taking that to the next level. We can give AI a little bit of information and they can do even more than all those things. They can write the essay for us. In fact, it can think for us now. Now, putting forward the problem with this, all of the way that I see convenience is it's something that saves us time with all this new technology and innovation. It saves us time, number one. And number two, it creates more variety in satiating entertainment. That's what it does. We've got different experiences. We couldn't experience gaming on a computer with that satiating entertainment when we were living in the wild. What would we do instead? We'd make hunting games. We'd be making games with sticks. But we'd also be connecting and storytelling with each other. And so what I'm going to point out right now is a big question that needs to be answered. And I perceive that you having this question puts you at a serious advantage in terms of the way that you can approach your life moving forward versus someone that hasn't been asked this question. And the question is, has all this innovative, convenience-driven technology made your level of presence and fulfillment, I have them almost as synonyms, has it increased or decreased your level of presence and fulfillment? That's the important question to be asking here. And the reason it's the important question is because I don't see life necessarily as reactively as what I used to, just kind of getting pinballed around and going with the flow of everything and just allowing myself to go through the paces in whichever way. I've been spending the last 7 or so years cultivating deep self-awareness so that I actually have a greater capacity to have free will and a greater capacity for presence, because I actually want to live my most fulfilled life. And this is the baseline premise that this whole episode is centered on, and that is the purpose of life is fulfillment, the quality of our experience. And that doesn't mean have dramatized, intense joy, bliss, always be having the most entertaining time ever. Because there's a very big difference between what I'm just going to categorize as happiness and what I'm going to put in the category of fulfillment. Happiness can be, I can feel happy when I'm eating a chocolate bar. Gives me some joy. Woo, happy, boom. Yeah, happiness, exciting. Seeing a funny dog video on social media. Whew, gives me some happiness. I might even laugh out loud. That's happiness. But happiness, in my understanding and experience, my theoretical understanding of the way the universe works and life works, but also my experiential understanding, is that those hits of satiating happiness that are more gratifying in the short term is very, very different to the sustainable, deeply fulfilling level of satisfaction that can come from presence and alignment in the way that we're approaching our life. So someone could be given $10,000 to go on a shopping spree on a day, and they could be in the shops buying all these clothes, buying all this new stuff, going to these fancy restaurants, and they're, hit of happiness, hit of happiness, hit of happiness. And they could feel really satiated. And then someone else could be given zero money and just spend a day with, I'm going to say, 2 steaks, 3 pieces of fruit. You know what? Just 2 steaks, a fire. They get 2 raw steaks, a fire, 3 pieces of fruit. Costs them a total of $15. And they're out there in nature, not really too much satiating happiness. But from my experience, that creates a really meaningful and sustainably satisfying experience. That's fulfillment, not happiness. And so that's what I'm setting as the baseline premise of this episode, that the purpose of life, the way to have the best life, in my opinion, is to live a life of deep meaning, presence, and fulfillment. And that is, it's really backed, in my opinion, it's wholesome. A fulfilling life is a wholesome life. Whole, where you're feeling whole in who you are. Holy, when you're connected to a sense of sacredness, which means that there's intention. Sacredness to me means intention and special. So I'm going to do things that make things feel special, and I'm going to be intentional with the things that I do. That makes it sacred. If I eat a meal and just smash it down, cool, I just ate a meal. If I eat a meal and it's a celebration meal where I'm really honoring, it's a meal that I'm having with a friend just to honor our friendship, I've created more intention around the meal, and it's more of a special meal. So I'd say that's a sacred meal. Not just eating the food for sustenance, but actually making it sacred, making it special. And so wholesome, whole, holy, and wholesome. That's fulfillment. Feeling a sense of fullness. I'm feeling full, so I don't have to desperately grasp and try to give myself all these little pockets of happiness. Need to get on the phone, need to scroll, need to get some emotional food to plug the anxiety that's in my system. And oh my gosh, I've had such a stressful day. Give me the chocolate. Oh my gosh, I need to watch that Netflix and decompress. This is like, I need a little pocket of happiness to try to plug feeling not whole, feeling empty, feeling lonely, feeling stressed and anxious. That's not fulfilling. Yeah. So this is an important pre-frame for this episode, because it's everything that I'm going to talk about to do with AI is going to be contingent on the premise that fulfillment is going to lead to a more meaningful life filled with less regret, more fulfillment, having a better quality experience that is one that you get to the end of your life and feel a lot more satiated with. And then happiness is short-term gratification. And so very, very important premise. So what I'm suggesting is that convenience, with all modern innovations in technology and these really cool experiences, sure, I love some modern day comfort. Sure, I'm doing this podcast episode right now and reaching more people using this technology. And I'm not suggesting we get rid of it all, but the threat to innovation, innovative technology, including chat GPT and any open AI, like the open AI software and any other artificial intelligence, is that it is creating a new level of convenience. Convenience gives us more time, and it creates the opportunity for more satiating entertainment. Okay? Innovation and leveraging technology. They're the perks. That's the perk of having a laptop. Gives us more time back. It also gives us more satiating entertainment. The telephone gives us some time back, some more satiating entertainment. I can call my friend whenever I want, have a little chat, have a little yarn. I can get a television. Cool. More satiating entertainment. Cool. It's quicker, short-term gratification. We went from acting and singing and dancing around a campfire with a tribe, and then doing plays on a stage, and then creating moving pictures. So movies never used to have sound for a big period of time. And then they innovated it and started to actually incorporate sound and moving pictures. So cinema then started to incorporate sound as well, and it was a full experience. And then we went from engaging in that. People were finding entertainment in a movie with no sound. Can you imagine trying to convince someone to watch a movie with no sound now? That's not going to be a very entertaining proposal, because it's not as satiating entertainment as what we have on offer now. And then things get more intense, more gruesome. The effects get bigger, more dramatized. The sound quality is improved, and then it gets compressed. And then we start to have YouTube, and then we start to have shorter videos on Instagram, and then Vine gets created, and we got 7-second videos. That's not a huge amount of time. And so now we're watching YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, TikTok videos. That is the most intensified, dramatized entertainment, most satiating entertainment we could possibly get. A dog is going through its life and it's doing all this random stuff, and it has a little highlight glitch in the Matrix moment where it accidentally does a backflip when it's running down and falls on a hill, and it looks hilarious, and someone was recording it. You're not seeing the dog's entire life and then happen to see the 0.001% of its life where it did something hilarious. No, you're seeing highlight moment of that dog's life in 7 seconds, and then scroll the next one, scroll the next one, scroll the next one, send it to your friends. And we're just getting big hit of entertainment, big hit of entertainment, big hit of entertainment. And it's becoming addicted to the next dopamine hit. And this is what the evolution of satiating entertainment looks like, where no longer are we in that graceful feeling of fulfillment and presence. We're desperately craving the next hit of happiness or short-term gratification. And so that is a symptom of of innovation with modern technology, increasing convenience. It's like Facebook gets rewarded. All the money's going towards Facebook when that first came out, and it becomes a multi-billion-dollar company, and it still is, because they've created convenience, right? So convenience and entertainment, time and entertainment. We look at these two factors. That's what's happening in the world. That's what's been happening, particularly because it's been exponentially increasing all this innovation. The last 20 years, the level of satiation, if that's a word, has just gone through the roof. And the expectation that our brains and nervous systems have built to live in is with such a crazy level of expectation of the next hit, how entertaining it needs to be. And so if you start watching a video on Instagram, an Instagram reel or a TikTok video, and for 3 seconds, nothing's happening, the mind will just go, bored, next one. So it takes 3 seconds to get bored. Whereas think about living in a tribe and there's no technology. How quickly would it take for someone to get bored? Well, they wouldn't get bored. That's their life. That's what they're used to. So they're accustomed to maximizing the environment and being in the present moment, and usually needing to require connection with other humans to feel a sense of entertainment. And that's really how we've been wired to seek entertainment. Real person-to-person entertainment, storytelling, laughter, more theatrical ways to approach life, and doing things together and feeling a sense of safety in our nervous system, satisfaction and fulfillment through connection in real life. And so that time spent connecting went from being a most of the time, all day, every day, living in a tribe and connecting with people in real life, to very rarely connecting with people in person. Even through COVID, as people went from working in communal offices then pulled back and through lockdowns and COVID restrictions, working in their house and going, oh, this is convenient. I could get used to this. Saves me more time from driving into the office. And so this whole surge of convenience and innovation that's led to all this extra entertainment in the food, what we're consuming material-wise, all the things that we're consuming have become more entertaining and more easily and readily accessible. Convenience has gone through the roof. And so we've got all this extra time. And that's what people are trying to do. There's courses that are being launched at the moment. Save time, save time. Instead of writing your own email newsletters, let chat GPT do it for you. Just let them do it. It's going to save you all this time. Save time, leverage time. Now, like, how would you feel to just, if I just gave you an extra 30 hours back in your week? You'd probably be like, oh, that's fantastic. Get another 2 days worth of time. But is it actually better? That's what I want to put forward. The question, is it actually better to have more time free? And you might be thinking, of course it is. But let me ask you a question. Why is the average screen time around the world 7 hours and 4 minutes? Why is the average person spending 7 hours on their phone? That is ridiculous. It is so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. So we've got all this extra time. Imagine what we could do with that time. What are we doing with the time? With the way it already is, with the current level of convenience, the current situation of leverage with technology, transport systems, communication systems, organization systems, production systems around the world. How's that going for us? So I often feel, I don't know if you feel similar, but I often feel like I'm excited to get through this work so that I can have time free afterwards. And whenever I have that time free, I actually want to fill that time with something. It's like an illusion that the body has of when the work's done, it's going to be good. To have more time, it's going to be good. It's going to be better. But we're essentially trying to stop living. So we're in this weird situation where we're getting more time than ever before. Things have been more satiating than ever before, more convenient than ever before, more entertaining than ever before. And mental health issues are larger than they've ever been. There's certain tribes around the world that don't even know what suicide is. They don't understand. There's African tribes that I've seen interviewed, and they kind of get confused. They're like, so you're saying, why do I want to continue to live in my tribe? Why don't I go live in the real world, in modern society? They're like, are you talking about the modern society where people jump from the buildings? Why would someone end their life? That's stupid, because they don't understand the experience that their nervous systems, that the average modern Western person is experiencing in their body, what it feels like to be addicted to satiating entertainment, to be addicted to dopamine, to be addicted to convenience. And that's the predicament that we're in. We're in I'm just going to call it an epidemic. We're in an epidemic of mental health deterioration. And people have more convenience than ever before, and their mental health is lower than ever before. Now, comparison point. A couple of years ago or 18 months ago or something, I spent 10 days living off the land in the wild with a tour guide who was an expert, who's lived off, who actually, the guy's name is Adam Kavanagh, and he went through a mental health problem in the Western world, and he said, stuff this, I'm going into the bush. And he just went and started living in the bush. He lived off the land for up to 9 months at a time, where he's literally living off the land. Very rare experience in Australia. I don't actually know anyone else that does it. They probably wouldn't televise it, but it's very, very rare. And he did that to try to remedy his mental health conditions. And he found out that he was so much healthier in the mind, in his emotional body, in his physical body too, by eating off the land, spending time in nature, and living off the land. And that's a really interesting predicament. And this man, he guided me as I spent 10 days in the wild. And as soon as I started spending time in the wild, none of those modern conveniences were there. All of a sudden, can you imagine what the first priority was? It was, I need to survive. So I need food. I need straight back to the basics: food, shelter, water. And we had some comforts, but a lot of them were stripped away. And so it was about, okay, where's the food? If I don't get the food, I'm going to die. And so I went from being able to go, Uber Eats, order me this, bring it to my door. Bring it to my door. And I just got to push a button. And it went from that to, I've got to learn to hunt. I've got to strategize where I'm going to find animals. I've got to track animals. I've got to stalk animals. I've got to practice how I'm going to catch the animals. And then I've got to catch the animals. I need to actually subdue the animal. I need to kill the animal. I need to process the animal. I need to store the meat. I need to learn how to start a fire. I need to find fire building materials. I need to start the fire. I then need to get the meat, prepare the meat, put the meat in the fire, cook the meat, wait for the meat to cook. Then I need to forage and get a plate for the meat out of leaves. I need to sit down and then eat the meat. And that process in the wild was a full-time gig for me. Over the 10 days, I spent most of the time doing some part of all those steps that I just mentioned constantly. What was I thinking about? Food. Where am I going to get the food? How am I going to prepare this food? How am I going to stalk that animal? Where am I going to find the animals? That's what the whole thing became about. And so all the convenience was stripped away. You'd think, oh, that's a massive pain in the butt. And I was thinking the same. This is going to be an initiation. This is going to teach me to go through this painful experience, and I'm going to come out stronger. That's what I thought. What I didn't think was this is going to have one of the most positive influences on my mental health out of anything else that I've done. I thought meditation, sweet. That helps my mental health. And that's a solution to a modern day problem. Creating space in a world which is actually filled with so much dramatized entertainment and so much demand and expectations for growth and achievement and all these things. We're in this sick loop of trying to work extra hard so that we can get all this money, so we can have all this time, only through which is going to be spent on satiating entertainment. And all of those things have a massive toll on the nervous system. All of those things lead to mental health conditions, and all of those things block fulfillment. So we end up in a worse situation. And so I'm in nature, spending all of my time concentrating on doing something that back home would take me 1 second. All I need to do is press a button. Here's your burger on my doorstep. Don't have to hunt the animals. Don't have to think about any of that, let alone it took me 4 to 5 days to actually get food. That's how long it took me. And that included actually, for me, I went through this whole process of catching a wild animal and only for it to be unedible for me. Other animals would have eaten it and it didn't go to waste. But I couldn't eat it because it wasn't in a healthy condition. It had worms, this particular animal. So I couldn't eat it. And then I ended up fasting for 4 to 5 days until I actually got food. So it took me 5 days to get a meal. Back here in the Western world, modern city life, cool. 1 second, press a button and I've got a meal. Now, that's what we're searching for here. That's what the whole world's geared. How do we leverage time? How do we leverage things? How do we innovate it? How do we make it better? Yet mental health conditions are going up. Suicide rates are going up. And we're actually working more time somehow and feeling less fulfilled somehow. And then here I am while I was away, zero mental health symptoms. I get anxiety. I feel low in my modern city life. And here I am in nature, the least convenient situation possible, the most time-consuming stuff. And I'm in a deep state of presence. I'm feeling engaged. I'm feeling connected to nature, to myself, to my new friend, to a guide. And it kind of would have a barbaric connotation, wild man in the thing, killer, hunter. I felt more conscientious and compassionate and connected than I ever have before. Felt more humane and beautiful and meaningful than the disconnection and just the numbness and disassociation that I experience in modern life that leaves me feeling less mentally well anyway. So this is the point that I'm pushing here. Convenience doesn't necessarily lead to greater fulfillment. Convenience and modern innovation can lead to having more time, but because we are just constantly trying to get somewhere in the future where we have this time, that whole predicament is based in a false truth. It's a blind spot of we're escaping the present because we're not happy with where we are, and we're searching for more time, and all the time that we have spare, we end up putting into short-term gratification, which makes us less healthy, less conscious with our decision making, and want to engage in this short-term gratification even more. And it's a spiraling down, self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So if we look at the way that we haven't been able to healthily adapt to social media and computers, mobile phones, etc., with what we already have in terms of convenience and leverage, with the average screen time being 7 hours a day, which is so ridiculous. It's so close to half of our waking life spent on social media, on technology, on computers and phones. Half of our waking life. It depletes our energy. It takes away from time spent in nature. When we've been designed as human beings to be living in nature, there is a health benefit to it. You can just go test that for yourself if you haven't already, because it's pretty viscerally obvious as an experience in our body. And we actually spend significantly less time having the face-to-face human connection that leads to mental health regulation, and it leads to us feeling a sense of presence, and it leads us to feeling safe and regulated in our nervous systems. So there is a big problem right now, and convenience is not better. That's the moral of the story so far. What is AI doing? It's making us spend, we get to leverage it more and more. Sweet. The other day, Shana was telling me about a course that I don't want to name the person to potentially shame them, but there's an Australian thought leader who's teaching people to use AI to completely build out their coaching courses for them. That's someone's whole profession. If someone leverages the building out of their entire course so they save all this time, what's left? What's left? I mean, we've got to spend time doing something. And I've realized this with me recently. Just a modern society, lifestyle, culture trap of trying to complete things. And once I complete it, then. Once I finish my workday, then I can relax. Once I finish this project, once I get enough money. And so it's living for the future. Whereas if you actually have the permission or the lifestyle that gives you permission to live for the present, then instead of trying to quickly eat food so you can get work done, so you can quickly make money, so you have time in the future, for what? Connection with people? Why don't you try connecting with people now? Why don't we try connecting with people now? It's a trap, and it's a blind spot. And the reason it's a blind spot is because our capacity to have conscious awareness gets impaired, gets significantly impaired by us feeling disconnected and regulated, which is what the satiating impact of modern culture has. When we're being given so much information and do this, leverage this, leverage that. My experience is if I go out and I do physical labor, I'm actually less tired after doing a day of physical labor as what I am doing half a day of intense thinking and being on the computer. I could work all day, go collecting sticks in the woods, walking, hiking, swimming through rivers, hunting animals, and I'll literally feel more exhausted spending half the amount of time on the computer, not even moving my physical body at all. And so this attempt at creating more convenience creates cool, unique, satiating entertainment, cool, time-saving things. But is it actually increasing our level of fulfillment? Well, all the statistics say no. The mental health statistics say no. Our screen time statistics say no. And so what do we do with it? Because the phone, all of these are addictions. Netflix is an addiction. Coffee is an addiction for most people. Social media is an addiction. Being on technology is an addiction. Cigarettes are an addiction. These are all addictions. Work for many people is an addiction. So if we've got all these addictions, it's very, very hard to remove them. And so I'm just going to tell you a few things that I've started doing that have made a dramatic difference in my level of fulfillment in relation to convenience. Okay. So I'm talking about AI without even getting to the scope of the danger of AI. If AI is an evolution of the convenience of technology we've had up until this point, and it's the most cutting edge level of convenience where other technology has the capacity to think, then not only do you not have to do and act with what old technology, you don't have, with a light bulb, you don't have to act to collect firewood and do the physical act of rubbing, of friction, like fire by friction, to then have light. Yeah. So instead of, it saved us the time of acting to collect the firewood and doing the action of starting the fire. Having a car has saved us the action of walking somewhere or riding a horse somewhere. Having the technology of typing has stopped us needing to write down with our physical hand. So it's saved us action time, behavioral time. But AI is saving us thinking time. That is dangerous because I'm already pointing out the problem that exists before convenience of thinking. Convenience of doing and saving us doing time has already put us in a predicament where just based on results, mental health conditions, depression, anxiety, suicide, and other mental health conditions are lower than they've ever been before. Divorce rates are higher than they've ever been before. Obesity rates are higher than they've ever been before. And so there's clearly big problems. And I'm very aware of it for myself because even though I'm not obese and I don't have clinical depression and a lot of these problems, I experience the difference in how I feel when I'm in my modern lifestyle. And I forget, I very much get sucked back into the environment of overconsumption, dysregulation, saving time only to work harder, feeling exhausted, feeling in this vicious dopamine hit cycle of ADHD, grasping short-term gratification, scrolling, Netflix, give me some Maltesers, I want takeaway food tonight, looking forward to the weekend, need that next hit. Yeah, I know what that feels like. It feels shocking. It's completely disassociated. There's massive anxiety there simultaneously. There's overwhelm in the system. There's a crash off the back end. Constantly need to refill the gas tank with short-term gratification and stimulants like coffee, sugar. It's a violent, violent loop. And I've also experienced every single time I go away and I say, not using my phone for the next, which I did the other day when I went to a retreat, putting my phone down for 9 days. Felt incredible. Way less anxious, way less depressed, way more present, way more engaged just by not having a phone around and spending a lot of time around other people in authentic connection. Cool. Got that research under my belt, got the research of living off the land and having the least convenience possible, having to spend all my time on the bare necessities and feeling more mentally well, better, feeling just better, more naturally joyful, more naturally liberated, more full in who I am, feeling more wholesomely connected, feeling more, just feeling better, just feeling better with no games, videos, gaming, social media, emotionally eating, sugar. It's none of this, and feeling better. So I've done my research internally, and I witness it in myself on a day-to-day basis. If I'm ever stuck in a scroll hole, and is it the chicken or the egg? Is it the scrolling that leads to a low state, or is it a low state that leads to the scrolling? Is it the scrolling that then leads to a low state, which leads to the emotional eating, or is it the emotional eating that leads to a low state that leads to the scrolling? What is it? Which one comes first? They all magnify each other and perpetuate the debilitating cycle of mental illness, dopamine addiction. And it is a problem. It is a problem. And so I've done enough research on this to know that I'm clearly, yeah, sure, I might have less pops of entertainment. Boom, funny video. Boom, funny video. Boom, entertaining, cliff-hanging TV series. Oh my gosh, that ice cream tastes so good. Oh my God. And just like drama. Yeah, there's less of that. But there's a more sustained feeling of wholeness and fullness and wholesomeness and meaning and connection and presence. And I've done enough research to go, that's how I want to live. And it took me ages to do that research. It took me ages to let go of my attachments piece by piece and be willing to say, okay, this is a problem now. I'm identifying this as a problem that is now unacceptable. That's where I got to with social media. So if I just open my drawer here, I had to try to guess that this is where my phone would be. This is my phone right here. It's in a plastic bag in my drawer. I forgot it was even there. Well, I didn't know for certain it was there, but that's usually where I keep it. Locked away in a drawer, in a plastic bag. That keeps my screen time always under an hour a day, usually less than 30 minutes a day. And that's much better than the 5 to 7 hours I'd spend on my phone, the screen time I would have when I looked at it. Yeah, I've got to use my phone for work. Sure, I do need to use my phone for work, which takes less than 30 minutes a day. And so I've made it my mission to not let these modern day technologies take over my bandwidth, make me into a participant in a video game that has no free will. There's this phenomena that I reference sometimes, which is called being a non-player character in a video game or a movie. A non-player character means it's a civilian in a game that has been coded to say or do certain things. They don't have free will. They just do what the coding says. And when we're dysregulated in life, we fall back on our patterning, our automated patterning and conditioning, and we lose awareness. We fall into what I call head hypnosis. Napoleon Hill called drifting. Tara Brach calls trance. Carl Jung called living below the line or being in unconscious. Muji calls being in the mind. Most spiritual gurus call it the ego. But the similarity with all of these things is that it's unconscious. It's being in a hypnotic state where we don't even have awareness. When you are feeling dysregulated in an argument, you forget what you're arguing about and how long it's been. You were in hypnosis. You're in a trance. You lost all free will, all conscious. You didn't want to be arguing with your partner and saying all that stuff, but you did. because you didn't have conscious awareness. You didn't have free will. You're just responding to defensiveness, responding to your patterning and conditioning, your safety strategies. That's what people do when they're scrolling. You forget you're even scrolling. What are you even doing? It's like a zombie. It's like we become zombies in this state. That's essentially being like an NPC. Are you choosing what you scroll, like on, swipe to? No, you're completely unconscious. Your brain's taken over and gone in some desperate attempt at satiating drama, entertainment, distraction, gratification, dramatized. And this is what our brain does in modern technology. We don't have free will. And so I have literally made it my mission to live as consciously as I can. And I cannot do that scrolling much in a day. I can't do that eating processed food. I can't do that not getting enough sleep or having massive LED lights on before I go to bed that makes my sleep worse. I can't do that by eating all this processed sugar. I can't do this by having coffee. It robs me of my presence. It robs me of my free will. It robs me of my conscious awareness and therefore capacity to have fulfillment. And so I literally now, I don't care about convenience as much. Sure, I'll pick and choose the things that I'm currently attached to that my lifestyle depends on. I'm not going to get rid of my laptop and start sending motivational quotes by pigeon to people that subscribe to my trained pigeon. No, but I limit my time spent on technology as much as possible. And I spend more time doing tasks that I used to value outsourcing. How can I get as much in the day? How can I leverage as much as possible and just do my genius zone? And what that became is, how do I be a profit machine? How do I become a robot of profit? How do I become this controlled, isolated execution machine, like an NPC, someone in a war video game that just does bow and arrow, boom, boom, archer, 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 video, dysregulated, reactive, patterning. I don't want to live like that. So what do I do instead? Well, I use my phone as little as possible. I've got a manual alarm clock next to my bed, so I don't need my phone in my next to my bed at night. I don't go on my phone until after I've done my morning meditation. Just don't do it. So the first 2-3 hours in the morning, I'm not on my phone. Not on my laptop either. I have a manual watch, or it's a digital watch, but it doesn't have connection to the internet. It's not a smart watch. It's a Casio. It's got a 10-year battery life. My watch, literally, the battery lasts 10 years. That's how little the EMFs are from it. And I can use timer, stopwatch, alarm clocks on there. It's absolutely fantastic. And then I don't need to check my phone all the time if I need to know the time. I don't need my phone for stopwatch. I don't need my phone for an alarm clock. I do that as much. I'm trying to avoid, I cook my own food as much as possible. It is so abnormal for me to go out for food. I have like a restaurant or a takeaway meal. I'm going to say once every month. Yeah. So if there's 21 meals in a week, 84 meals in a month, or 87 meals or whatever it is, it's like less than 2% of my meals aren't cooked at home. And my gosh, sure, I'm going to enjoy that. I'm not robbing myself of the capacity to have happiness, but I don't want to fall into a loop of relying on that satiating entertainment and that dopamine hit just to survive, because I'm so dysregulated that my body is relying on that and it's going to have withdrawals if I don't have it. That is a really unfulfilling way to live. And so I have all these manual things that I do in my life and little habits and tricks that I put in my life to make things more manual, to make things more difficult. And you'd be like, why? You're wasting your time. No, I'm spending my time doing things that I can have fulfillment during. Cutting up a carrot doesn't mean that my life sucks. I would rather be cutting up a carrot and being present than scrolling a super entertaining video watching a 15-second video and being like someone that's having heroin withdrawals, right? So there is a big current problem that exists. And it's not like I'm saying this is news. It's not like I'm the first person to say this or notice this. You know this. You know how you feel when you get into a scroll hole. You know how you feel when you have a sugar crash, right? You know how it feels. And so we're in this, our life right now is a series of symptoms of core problems, of innovative technology without a sound way to manage all this new way of living, where our brain and our nervous system just is not set up and ready for this level of drama. So if you think about a tribes person that in their entire life, living in a 20 to 50 person tribe, maybe they see 100, 200 people in their entire life. Whereas you can see 10,000 people in person if you stand in a capital city near a busy train station. You sit there and 10,000 people over a couple of hours. So you'd see 100 times more people in a couple of hours, 100 times more people in a couple of hours in modern life than what a tribes person would spend in their entire life. Think of the leverage there. How much extra information the brain needs to take in. Person. And the tribes person's just sitting there with 3 people around having a chat. It's a whole different reality. And so what's the biggest threat that artificial intelligence has to us? It's actually robbing us of our capacity to spend time doing things. If you look at what most people want, we want to feel like we belong. We want to feel relevant. There's a beautiful video by Neil deGrasse Tyson, the astrophysicist who studies, he's got a video on Netflix, series on Netflix called Cosmos, I'm pretty sure. And he has this beautiful video you can search on YouTube called The Most Astounding Fact. The Most Astounding Fact. And he talks about, as humans, we're made of the same elements that make up the stars and the planets in the universe, and how that makes him feel a sense of relevancy and belonging. And he refers to it. He says, what do we want to feel as humans? We want to feel like we belong. We want to feel relevant. Well, if we keep leveraging things and outsourcing things, we don't feel as relevant. I want to feel productive in a relationship. If my partner gets every need met without me, this is a side topic I could do a whole other episode on, but I'm also traversing the same problem myself, not reconciled with this one. But if there's male suicide rates are so high, why are there's 9 suicides a day in Australia, 7 of them are male. So there's more than 3.5 times more suicide in men than women. Men are feeling less useful. If we used to, culturally speaking, be the ones that would provide food, right? We would hunt. We would provide. And if you look at tribes people, the most exciting memory of their entire life is the first time they brought home a big catch so that they could feed the tribe. How does that make that person feel? Relevant, useful. And the more that we're leveraging and outsourcing and saving ourselves time, and we've got all this extra time, now we can go on holidays. Now we can do all this extra stuff. What are people on? Now I'm going to go on these holidays. What are they doing on the holiday? They're probably spending more than 50% of the holiday on their phones. That's a problem. And so if we continue, and I'm kind of sidetracking here a little bit with this piece, but as men, we used to provide. That has been taken away in many sense, because now everyone gets their own, just what's the most culturally acceptable thing to do is for everyone to bring their own money in, aka everyone to have their own capacity to get food. And that was my big transmission from the hunting trip I did. The 10-day living off the land experience was, what does it mean? What's the difference between a boy and a man? The boy is dependent on the tribe and for food and protection. The man protects the tribe, gives the tribe food and protection. That's the difference between a boy and a man. Yeah, that was my initiation experience from this wilderness trip. That's been taken away with all this extra leverage and convenience. You can go, wow, it's fantastic though. It's so fantastic. We can get so much more done. To what? For what purpose? So we can create more apps? So we can create more technology? So our mental health can get worse? And I'm not saying that all of this is objectively bad. What I'm offering here is that you can take sovereignty and responsibility for this particular problem. It is a problem. It's irrefutable that it's a problem. Convenience, extra entertainment that creates short-term gratification that keeps us in this dopamine addiction, stress addiction loop, that's a problem. You can see it. Go for a walk down the street. Try to find someone not on their phone. Ridiculous. It's no presence. The fulfillment's lacking. Sure, happiness is there. Dopamine strikes. Great. Not really. It's a problem. It is a serious problem. And so, like I'm suggesting here, the biggest threat that AI has is it has the capacity to do what I'm considering a problem here, which is to create convenience. So much so that so if there's every new innovation from the start of, let's say, not the year 1900, if from that point to now, there's been these incremental increases in leverage and convenience and saving us time and extra satiating entertainment and whatnot is just the rate at which it's increasing, we're about to quantum leap in terms of the increase in leverage and convenience. So much more than anything else has quantum leapt us as a society with AI, that the direct ramifications of that in the way that we feel as a species is right on the edge of being a really big problem. It's a really, really big problem. If you just slot yourself into society as an NPC, a non-player character, if you continue to let yourself be swept up like most people are, no bad intention. It's just not what our brain and nervous system's been designed for. So everyone's just kind of stuck. And because they're so heavily impacted by this, like I can't control my emotional eating with sugar. It's very difficult. You know what? I've gotten a lot better since my self-awareness in other areas has compounded my consciousness to make it easier for me to be aware of the isolated problem of sugar. But if I'm scrolling on social media, I just get stuck. I usually glitch. I usually lose consciousness and become unconscious. It's not like, no, I'm in full control here. I'm not in full control. I can't, I'm a pretty self-aware person, but still sweeps me up every time. And so bottom line is, no one's bad. Oh my gosh, you guys are idiots for being on the phone for 7 hours a day. It's just a sad reality and not a way to live. But it's not the person that's on the phone. They're not the origin of the problem. They're stuck in the symptoms of this raise in convenience, raise in time, extra convenience, extra dramatized entertainment. They're just at the effect of that. And so, very, very difficult to get out of the loop and worth trying. I've done a full YouTube video that goes for an hour on how to save time on your phone, on screen time. I've done episodes on what it looks like to eat holistically healthy and how to really live healthily from a nutrition, hydration, supplementation perspective. I've done a whole sleep episode. These are worthwhile watches, or if you're watching this on YouTube, or listens if you're on Spotify or iTunes. These are very, very important things to take a hold of. And it is difficult. It has become a fight. I can't just be like, oh, let's just see how I go discerning my social media usage time today. I'm just going to go I'm just going to go on Instagram and see how I go. I can't see how I go. It's too powerful of a force. It's too addictive. They've coded the app and innovated the technology so much so that they have hypnotized the entire population to use the software for 7 hours a day. On average, there is a big chunk of the population that spends 12 plus hours a day, which means there's only 4 hours a day where they're not on their phone and laptop. So for me, I can feel the negative consequence on my quality of life, so much so that it is intolerable to let myself just get swept up into this hypnotic prison of modern culture. Not prepared to do it. I can still walk through modern culture and I can still find the joy in some of and get happiness. Like I was vilifying happiness in contrast to fulfillment, but I'm not saying it's objectively wrong. But if it's the main source of reprieve from the stress in the system and it becomes an addictive dependency that our nervous system's relying on, that is a quick route to acidity in the system, which is a quick route to disease. And that's the other thing that tribes have never heard of, cancer. I'm not saying it's better to live in tribal days. We get the benefit of both. In modern culture, we can still go into nature and we have some of the extra safety precautions that do give us a bit more free will and a bit more choice. But left to our own devices and reactive to modern culture without being able to moderate our usage and gain leadership over the addictive tendencies of modern culture, it is causing so much damage. So the biggest threat that we have of AI is very much the fact that it's going to give us more time. That's not necessarily a healthy thing. I want to spend more time. I'm happy to spend time cooking a meal if it's fulfilling in that time. I don't want to get to the end of my life going, oh my gosh, I saved all my time. I'm here to live. Living is cooking with people. It is chatting with people. It is walking somewhere to meet someone and enjoying the walk. I'm not trying to leverage it and teleport everywhere. And what is the purpose of this thing? How do I get that done as quickly as possible? I want to be on a path and enjoy the in-between moments. I want to draw out my experiences. If that means, I'd be happy to leverage as much as possible as long as I stay present and fulfilled. And I've just found that I can't do that if I just live as I'm being directed to live by the way that modern society operates. That's not conducive of a present and fulfilling lifestyle. And I'm not about it, and I'm not okay with it. And I'm actively fighting against that. And it's really paying off. It's really paying off. And I feel so lucky to not get swept up in it, to have this awareness. And if you're listening to this, please embody this. But do your best you can. You're not going to just go from here and then instantly remove your addiction to your phone, instantly remove any emotional eating or sugar or smoking or coffee or whatever it is for you. But if you can just set the intention to continue to lean in and improve and strip away these layers of dependency, you're going to gain more consciousness, more awareness, and more free will, which will make it easier to then make healthier decisions, which will give you more presence, more awareness, more consciousness to make even healthier decisions. Then you get to go back behind the driver's seat of your car instead of being in the Tesla that's self-driving so you can do some other addictive thing in the passenger seat. No, I want to drive my car. I want to drive my car. I want to be present. I want to live my life. I don't want AI to do it for me. I want to have my own damn experience. And so that's the biggest threat. Saving time's not always a good thing. Food for thought. It's an important question. And I really wish you luck on this. And this is like a big deliberation I've had recently, something I've had to take time to feel into. My brand is built on social media. I don't want you on social media. I want you connecting with me in person. I want you to come along to the workshop. I want you to come along to a retreat with me. I don't want to be on social media. I want to be connecting with the people I love in the flesh. Yeah. I know that's not always possible, and thank you for the beautiful benefits that technology can have, but it's doing more harm than good in my perspective. At this stage on our collective evolutionary journey of getting accustomed to it, it's not helping. It's causing problems. It's causing damage. And I wish you all the love on it. If you could have a more fulfilling experience and not like my Instagram post, I'd prefer you to have a more fulfilling experience and not like my Instagram post. Yeah, and I'm just wishing you all the love on this journey. We're in it together. We're in it together, and highly recommend to do what you have to do to be able to get a leverage, get on top of this, get proactive, get in front of this problem so you're not reactively grasping and stuck in that cycle. For me, the antidote to it was meditation. That's the thing that gave me more restoration, more expanding consciousness, more self-awareness. So I'm not in trance. So I'm not living like an NPC, a non-player character. So I'm not stuck in this head hypnosis, but I actually have awareness and free will to live my life. Actually know what I'm doing, to be present and aware of what I'm doing. And everyone deserves that. And if you want help with that, come to the Art of Fulfillment workshop. That's all I'm going to say. I love you guys. I can't wait to see you in the next episode. Peace out.